What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, it is my Battlefield 6 review. As of recording this video, it's been out for about 2.5 weeks, and this video should be going up on the day that Season 1 drops. So this is all pre-Season 1. This is not having played Season 1. This is right before Season 1 drops. I put a lot of time in this game, about 45-ish hours into the game so far, and have a lot to say on this game, the multiplayer, the campaign. We'll get into all of it. I do want to split this review into sort of two mini reviews, but just kind of splitting it into a multiplayer part of the review and then a campaign part later on in the video. Talk about both, give both their screen time, and talk about both separately instead of kind of going together in the same way, because multiplayer and campaign are different experiences for sure, so I want to talk about those both separately. So without further ado, let's dive in. I want to first get into my background with the Battlefield franchise, so you know where I'm coming from with my opinions. You know what games I've played, how much time I put into this franchise, just kind of where I'm coming from with the Battlefield franchise, what games I've played. So I have played a lot of Battlefield games. I think I first got into the franchise with Bad Company 2. Not when it first came out, but I think right around then I got into it. And then Battlefield 3 came out, and that's when I really got into that. So pretty much everything Bad Company 2 and after, I have played a good bit of, or a lot of, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, 4, 1, 5, and 2042. Obviously, with these Battlefield games, they've kind of gotten, I mean, if we're being honest, they've gotten worse and worse. You can kind of debate from Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield 4. Those are all fantastic games in my opinion. I love all those games for different reasons. They hit that Battlefield itch. They scratch that itch like nothing else can. Battlefield 1 for me, I know a lot of people love, and I still really like it, but I wasn't as big of a fan of, but I still really enjoyed it, and I can see why people were a big fan of that game, especially from a presentation standpoint. Visuals, that game still holds up for 2016, had great gameplay. And then you get into Battlefield 5 and 2042, admittedly not great games at launch. They had rough launches for one reason or another, but they did get to pretty good to solid places before their support was cut off, and they ended up being good to solid games. So to me, there isn't a bad game in the Battlefield franchise, at least recently. I never went back and played the old ones. I think I went back and played Battlefield 2, which was a lot of fun, but I've not played every Battlefield game. But all the most recent ones I have played, and I'll sit here and say, it might be a hot take, there isn't a bad Battlefield game as of now. You can go back to launches of Battlefield games and say that there were bad games, and there's absolutely been bad games. But after all games have gotten support, gotten updates, more content, more fixes, they've all gotten to either a great state, good state, or at least a solid state. So I've enjoyed pretty much all of my time with these Battlefield games. I'd say my favorite, if I had to pick, is probably Battlefield 4. Really enjoyed that. 3 and Bad Company 2 are close second and thirds. But the Battlefield franchise, I love it. It is like nothing else. Nothing else in the market is able to scratch that big battle, large amount of players, fighting over objectives, playing as a team, as a squad, using the class-based systems to work together and achieve victory. There's nothing like that. Explosions, destruction, lots of weapons, great gameplay and progression. There's nothing quite like a really good Battlefield game. And now we'll get into why I think Battlefield 6 is up there as a really good Battlefield game. We're going to dive into the multiplayer first and first touch on the gameplay, because that is the base of a Battlefield game. That's really the base of any first-person shooter. You can have all these great systems and great maps, weapons around it, but if the gameplay isn't good, then you're not going to have a fun time playing a first-person shooter, especially a Battlefield game. And the gameplay in Battlefield 6 feels so good. I think they have nailed it. It's so smooth. Gunplay feels great. Time to kill, I think, feels great. All the weapons, which we'll kind of dive into more in depth later on in the review, but all the weapons feel great. They've introduced a lot of new features that really flesh out this Battlefield experience, but what they have done, first and foremost, is made sure that this game launched in a good state. That was a very important thing. We've had bad launches, even going back to Battlefield 4 had a really bad launch. 5 did not have a great launch. 2042 especially did not have a great launch at all. So they knew that if they were going to come back to Battlefield and knock it out of the park, they needed to have a great launch. And is this a perfect launch? No. But for me, I have not had any game-breaking experiences, no game-breaking bugs. A few glitches here and there, like I've had a glitch where I join into a match and I can't see the enemy team's score, or I can't see our score. It's little things like that that are a little annoying, but nothing game-breaking to the point where you can't play the game. All the bugs that have occurred are small little things that can definitely be fixed. Some have already been fixed after the launch of the game has already happened. Updates have gone out. They've done a really good job of listening to feedback and doing the Battlefield Labs playtest pre-launch, getting all of that feedback from the community and putting it into this launch, and it's been a great launch. Performance is smooth, we'll get into that later. I mean, for a Battlefield launch, the bar is not set very high, but I think this has exceeded it, and it really is kind of sad that we have to get to a point where we're praising good game launches, because we should just come to expect that. We're paying full price for these games. We should expect for them to work on day one. But with Battlefield, we know, if you've played the games recently, what to expect from a Battlefield launch. And even though the bar wasn't set very high, this launch has knocked it out of the park, and we've had a good experience from day one. So now getting into the gameplay, it does feel smooth. We're back to class-based systems. Going away from the specialist that Battlefield 2042 introduced, we're back to assault, engineer, recon, and support. It's so good to be back with these classes. This is the way to go. I understand they wanted to try something different. They wanted to try and reinvent the wheel, but when you have such a good base like you do with these classes, you don't need to do that. Hopefully they've learned their lesson and they're going to stick to it. And each of these classes feels great to play. I've only played the open weapon playlist. I'm pretty sure there still is a closed weapon playlist. I've not even tried that, because although it does make the classes feel more distinct, makes them feel more unique, to be able to only use LMGs with support, or only use assault rifles with assault, or snipers with recon. For me, open weapons doesn't really change a whole lot. It kind of lets me free flow. If I want to use a carbine with recon, I can. If I want to use a shotgun with assault, I can. If I want to use a sniper with support for whatever reason, I want to play that, long range but still in the mix to get revives, support role, I can do that. I have a lot of fun doing that. But there still is that closed weapon playlist there if you want to experiment and have these classes feel more distinct. But with the gadgets that each class introduces, the game does a great job of making these gadgets, these classes, feel unique from one another. Like, you have the ladder with assault, you go over to engineer, obviously that's where a lot of your explosives are going to come in, with RPGs, stingers, anti-tank mines, M2 slams. And then you go over to support, you have things like the defibs, or smoke grenades, or the med kits, all of the support, healing, assisting your teammate gadgets. And then recon, of course, you have things like the recon drone, the laser designator. They've done a great job of bringing all these gadgets into the game, into the sandbox to experiment with and make these classes feel unique. So even if you're playing these open weapon playlists, the gadgets are still stuck to whatever class you choose, and it feels great. One thing that they have introduced in this game that I think is one of the smartest small things that they've done, but one of the smartest gameplay introductions they've done, is the ability to drag teammates into cover when you're reviving them. It doesn't even sound like it would be that cool of a feature or that useful of a feature, but when you're in the heat of combat and your teammate dies around the corner and you're able to pull him to safety while being able to revive him, it adds to the cinematic moments that you get in Battlefield 6. and it's such a cool feature. It was great in the beta. It's great in the full game. I'm so glad they introduced that, and I really hope they never get rid of it. This should be in every Battlefield game going forward. Such a small new feature, but it helps so much. Even if you're not playing support, just the ability to be able to drag teammates out of the heat of battle into cover and be able to save them. Such a cool new feature. Gameplay feels great. The headshot noises when you're using a sniper, or just any gun in general, but especially sniping, feels so good. Even though I'm not that great at sniping, sniping feels great. Using all of these different classes feels great. Gameplay in Battlefield 6, to me, and this could be a hot take, I think it is the best Battlefield gameplay that I have experienced. I played Battlefield 3, 4, Bad Company 2 on console, and going back to those games, the combat, the gameplay feels a little dated. I'm sure it's probably a different experience on PC. I have been playing Battlefield 6 on PC, so it might be a big jump in experiences from console to PC, especially with those older games. But still, I think this gameplay is just that good. I love playing this game, and that all starts with the gameplay being so good. Them nailing the classes and adding new features and just making the game feel so good to play. Now diving into progression in Battlefield 6. The gameplay is great. They have that great base to build off on, and now it's time to dive into progression, and then later on weapons and maps and game modes. But the progression is a very important part of Battlefield. Being able to level up, unlock new equipment, new pieces of the sandbox, and Battlefield 6 does this great. There's some areas where I think it does it not so great. We'll talk about that, but overall I think the progression is great. Obviously you'll start off at level 0, and most of the weapons and the sandbox items you'll unlock through just leveling up, hitting level 50. I'm not even sure what the max rank is yet. I haven't seen it online. I think as of recording I'm at level 43, 44, so I'm very close to hitting that level 50 and getting all of these sandbox items that you'll unlock from going to 0 to 50. But the progression feels great from game to game. You're probably going to get the most progression through Conquest. Longer matches that you're able to build up more score, get more kills. That seems to be the way to go if you want to get a lot more XP. But to me it felt like you could play any mode, and it kind of added up almost in a way to where it just felt like you could play any mode. TDMs, obviously you're not going to get as much score, as many kills, but those matches don't last as long. You're able to complete challenges maybe a little bit easier since you're only focusing on kills, and the maps are a little bit smaller. You can play a domination match and it's sort of the same way. The shorter matches don't give you as much XP obviously, but because they're shorter they're able to add up in a way where it kind of makes it feel like you're progressing just as much, even if it doesn't feel like it with a big Conquest match. I think the progression feels great. Leveling up, doing things like the daily challenges that they've introduced, weekly challenges, going for those and giving you those XP boosts feels great. They've done a great job with that through the first couple of weeks. Pre-season 1, I think they've done great with challenges, and just leveling up feels great, and that's the most important thing. I've enjoyed leveling up. It's not too much of a grind where it feels like it takes forever, but at the same time it's not easy. It's not an easy grind to go from level 0 to 50. It's going to take some time, it's going to take some hours, but that's the fun of it. You're able to put in a lot of these hours, feel that progression. It feels great moving from level 0 to 50. So while most of the items are unlocked through leveling up, there are also assignments that we've had before in games like Battlefield 3, 4, Battlefield 1 I think was the last game to have assignments, 5 maybe, but I'm not entirely sure about that, but 1 for sure had assignments, and these are ways to unlock weapons, pieces of equipment, gadgets through challenges instead of leveling up and hitting a certain level. You had to, I believe before they fixed it and made it sooner, I think it was level 23 or 26, I think it was 23, to be able to start doing the weapon challenges. They've since reduced that down a couple levels so you're able to start those earlier. And I think the challenges themselves are not bad, but there are a couple challenges, and a lot of people know this, that are just honestly ridiculous to complete. And as of recording this video, they've not gone in and made any changes to either how long it takes, how much progression you need. There's a challenge, I think the big one is to unlock the last sniper, where you need to get 150 kills, maybe 200 kills with snipers with headshots over 200 meters away. And there's only one map that you can really do that on, and that's Operation Firestorm. So having that be a challenge to unlock a weapon, to unlock a piece of the sandbox is not great. I do think this is easily fixable by going in, maybe reducing the distance, doing something with these challenges where it feels easier but still feels like a challenge to go for. A lot of people are going into the portal mode and unlocking this stuff here easily. I've decided not to do that. I want to play the game and unlock these weapons the way they were meant to be unlocked. But if you would want to go and unlock all these sandbox items really easily, you can go into the portal mode and do that. Most of the challenges, though, aren't that bad. They are a bit of a grind. One might require you to get 200 kills with a certain weapon, and then also get a certain amount of score with that class, or get headshot damage. There's usually 2 requirements per challenge to be able to unlock weapons and pieces of equipment, but for the most part, they're a little bit of a grind, but not too much to where it feels like it's ridiculous. But there are some challenges, like I believe there's one for an engineer assignment where you need to repair 6,000 vehicle damage in a game, and that's just really difficult to do in just one game. But for the most part, the assignments I think are a good idea. It's great that they're back. I just think in execution, some of these assignments could be done a little bit better with what they ask you to do, how much of what they ask you to do, stuff like that. But for the most part, progression in this game I think feels great. It's a great balance between leveling up, you're still unlocking things through that progression tree, but then you go over to the assignments and you have a lot of things to go and complete to unlock additional sandbox items. So progression, I think, as a whole, feels great, but there's some things that they need to iron out and fix going forward to make this game feel even better to progress through, especially with the assignments. I've decided to kind of clump all these different topics into one big topic and go ahead and touch on weapons, maps, and game modes. Go ahead and knock all these out into one. Weapons in Battlefield 6, a great roster of launch weapons in this game. I don't know off the top of my head how many. I want to say there's somewhere in the 40s in terms of weapons. There are 8 assault rifles, 8 SMGs, 8 LMGs, 7 carbines. I could be wrong on these numbers. 4 DMRs. There's 3 snipers and 3 shotguns. There's a class in there that I'm forgetting, I'm sure. There's a lot of weapons in Battlefield 6. Great thing to knock out right off of the get-go. A lot of weapons that we've seen in past Battlefield games, like a Battlefield 3 or 4, that are great to have back into the franchise. And although I do wish that they had real weapon names, that's a little thing that kind of bugs me, but it's not at all going to hold the game back. I just miss when we were able to have real weapon names, but that's just a small nitpick, and that's really not a Battlefield problem. A lot of games have trouble doing that with the licensing. But going back to the weapons, you are given so many options to choose from with these weapons, going through the progression, unlocking these weapons, and then not only just having 4 or 5 assault rifles, you have 8 to choose from once you unlock them all. Each feel different to me, each look great, they all sound great. The weapon design, the sound design for each of these weapons feels amazing. The sniper rifles especially, with the way they echo when you shoot them, it just sounds like a whip being hit. I mean, the snipers sound great, all the weapons sound great. I think the weapon variety in Battlefield 6 is great. The shotgun, still, a lot of people use it. It's just something I feel like is going to happen, especially in close range situations. It is a shotgun. It's supposed to one-shot right up in your face. Is it annoying? Yes. But there's nothing that you can really do about it. They can nerf it all they want, but a shotgun is still supposed to be a shotgun. As long as it doesn't have crazy range. I feel like the beta was a little bit worse with the shotgun, so it does seem like they've kind of tuned it back. It might help that there's a lot more weapons to mess with. But overall, using all of these different weapons, the different LMGs, different SMGs, assault rifles, DMRs, all of these guns feel great. Love using all of them, and I think this is something that a lot of first-person shooters need to make sure that they knock out from day one, is having a great lineup of launch weapons so that the community doesn't get bored super quick with what they're given. All of these weapons have great customization, which is not something I talked about in progression. I'll go ahead and talk about that now. There are weapon levels or weapon masteries for each level. I think the max is 50 per weapon, and this is a bit of a grind to do, even if you just use one weapon. I don't think I've even hit level 20 on any weapon because I've been bouncing around, usually using a different weapon each game, and using these weapons, you want to unlock different attachments. It kind of takes a approach of, I want to say, not like a pick 10 system like you would see back in like an old COD, like a Black Ops 2, but each attachment that you apply has a certain amount of points that go towards it. You have a 100-point budget, and different grips cost different amounts of points. So one might cost 10, one might cost 20, but the 20-point grip has a boost on top of it that the other grip does not. It's kind of a risk reward, balancing it out type of system, and I think it is a great system to be able to really kit out your weapons while not doing it overboard with that budget once you unlock a bunch of attachments for each gun. There's camos for each gun that all look great. I don't even think I've unlocked a camo yet because all the camos start to unlock at level 20, and past that 30, 40, 50, all these camos unlock, and then you can start using the camos as well. But weapon progression I think feels great. It is a bit of a grind. It's going to take you a minute if you want to get a gun from level 1 to 50. You're going to be using that gun for a while. It takes a minute. So I've been bouncing around using different guns, not really focusing on leveling up everything to 50 all at once. I want to be able to use the sandbox, use a bunch of different guns. So the weapon progression is great. All the weapons in this game feel great as well, and I'm so glad that there's a great variety to choose from. I do wish there were one or two more snipers, one or two more shotguns, maybe take out an LMG or two just to put some more variety over there, but they are adding a sniper with Season 1 of Battlefield 6, so that'll help a lot as well. Getting into maps now, we have 9 launch maps for Battlefield 6. You might hear that and be like, wow, that's not a lot. I think it's important to realize that if you're going to have 9 maps, you better have 9 great maps. Quality over quantity. I'd rather have 9 great maps than 15 okay maps, but that's just me. And I think for the most part, all the maps in this game, and now, whether or not you like maps is subjective. I might like a map that you do not like. I think the only map in this game that I'm not too big of a fan of, but I can still play it, is Liberation Peak. I'm not too big of a fan of like the mountainside of the map. Just not really my thing. I like the town part of the map the most. But all the other maps in this game, and I can even play Liberation Peak and be fine and still have a good time. But all the other maps in this game I can play and enjoy. I like all the maps in this game. I really, really do. There's some weaker ones, but for the most part, they all feel great to play on. I think they scratch that itch. They are a little bit smaller than we've seen before. A lot of the old Battlefield maps were a lot bigger, larger scale. These are a smaller scale Battlefield map launch lineup, but they're still big in scale to be able to create these large battles, but they're still a little bit more contained than older ones. I feel like the biggest map is probably Merak Valley. Maybe it's still Firestorm, I'm not sure, but All the maps I like a lot, going from Manhattan Bridge being one of my favorites. I love the rooftop objective on Manhattan Bridge, whether you're playing Conquest or Escalation. I love that map. I really enjoy Empire State, that more infantry focused experience. Maps like New Sobek City I have a lot of fun on. Merak Valley I do enjoy. Bouncing between these different maps I have a lot of fun with, and bringing back Operation Firestorm. A lot of people have had issues with this map because they forget how sniper focused this map is, with people hiding on rooftops, people hiding on top of the silos around the C objective, or at least I think it's the C objective, right in the middle of the map. But I like Firestorm still a lot. It's still a great map to me. I'm glad they brought that one back. The maps in this game I really enjoy. They're a lot of fun to play on. They look great. We'll get more into visuals later, but all the maps have a great style to them, a great atmosphere. Overall, the maps are a lot of fun to play on, and I cannot wait to see how they progress through the life cycle of Battlefield 6, adding new maps and spicing things up with a lot more variety. I'm excited to see where they go with it. But the launch maps in Battlefield 6, I enjoy a lot. I had a lot of fun with. And last but not least, game modes. I was very excited in the beta, or at least pre-launch, to hear about all the game modes that they were going to have on day one. Bringing back modes like Domination and Squad Deathmatch, all these smaller modes that we saw in older Battlefield games that would sometimes come back maybe in a seasonal update but would never stick around. They're here at launch, and the modes are a lot of fun to mess with. I have pretty much stuck to every mode except for Breakthrough and TDM. Admittedly, I'm not really a Breakthrough person. I've never really been a fan of Breakthrough. It is super chaotic. It is almost too much chaos for me to handle. I'm not a big fan of having all of the fighting being around just one or two objectives, but that's just me. I know a lot of people love Breakthrough. A lot of people love that chaos, and I'm glad that they do. It's great for kills. Just not really my thing, but I am glad that it's there for the people that love Breakthrough. But Conquest being back, staple mode, you can't ever get rid of it. It is a fantastic mode. Still just as fun in this game as it's ever been. Watching those tickets count down, fighting over objectives to have superiority in the match to make sure that you are draining more tickets than the enemy is. Conquest, still so much fun. Even modes like TDM, which I didn't play a lot of, but TDM is there for the people that want it, want a quick experience, get in, get out. Squad Deathmatch, I really like and enjoy that being back. Having 16 players split into 4 different teams, and it's just a squad focused experience. First to 50 kills wins. Really glad that that's back, and I'm glad that that experience is there, because from Squad Deathmatch to TDM, I think Squad Deathmatch just scratches an itch that TDM does not for me. It's more of a squad focused mode, obviously, and I really enjoy that. Domination being back, it's more of that smaller scale conquest fighting where it's infantry only. There's 3 flags, you capture flags really quick. These matches can go really fast, but they're still fast paced, get you in and out quick. If you only have a couple minutes to play, you can play a domination match or two and still get a lot of enjoyment. Rush being back, I love Rush, so glad it's here. That's like my breakthrough mode. It's a bit smaller scale, not as many players, but you're still fighting over 2 objectives, either attacking or defending, and I love Rush so much. I'm so glad that that's back and in this game at launch. And the new mode being Escalation, and also King of the Hill we'll talk about in a second, but Escalation is slowly becoming one of my favorite new modes in the Battlefield franchise. I think it's such a great idea. It's basically Conquest, but as the match goes on, the more territories you capture, the more flags despawn, and as you get further and further into the game, it's first to 3. When you capture a territory, if it's on your team, one of the objectives that is closest to your spawn will disappear, and that goes on, and if it ends up being a 2-2 matchup, then there's only 3 flags left to capture, and it's just an all-out battle to make sure that you have at least 2 flags so that you're making progress towards capturing that territory. It is a great mode. I love Escalation, It's a great idea, and execution, I love it a lot. It's up there with Conquest for me, honestly, with how much fun I've been having. It scratches that itch of fighting over different objectives. You might have this huge battle at one objective for 10 minutes and then go to another objective and have a completely different experience. That's what Battlefield does, and Escalation is able to scratch the itch, and I'm so glad that they were able to come up with such a fun new mode. It seems like all these new modes that developers introduce into these first-person shooters are just kind of like one-off. They don't really work all that well. You'll never see it again. Escalation is a mode that I hope that they keep in Battlefield going forward in the future. I really enjoy it. King of the Hill is basically your hard point, and it scratches that itch. I do have a lot of fun with it. You can drop some good kill matches, high kill matches in King of the Hill, fighting over that capture point. It moves around, infantry focused. I do enjoy King of the Hill. So there's, I think, 8 modes in Battlefield 6 at launch, and it's a great variety, bringing back old modes to have into the launch of Battlefield 6. Really enjoyed the weapons, maps, and especially game modes that they were able to bring to the launch of Battlefield 6, and I had a lot of fun with all of it. Before we completely steer away from the multiplayer, I want to share some of the great moments that I've captured, a couple of clips that I have had throughout my 40 hours, 45 hours of playing, a couple of clips that I really enjoyed, had a lot of fun capturing, playing with friends, just having that Battlefield experience back, and Battlefield moments that you cannot get in any other game. Battlefield 6 does create those Battlefield moments just like the old games did, and I want to showcase some of the clips that I've gotten. Obviously, this is not going to be great clips, but these are clips that I really enjoyed and had a lot of fun capturing while I was playing. So I want to show off a couple right here.
On more objectives. Our forces are close to taking territory. Delta has been secured.
Trying to see you can attack instead of right. Yep. What a shot! Insane! No way. Take it. Oh, well done. Oh, this isn't the thing. Yeah, this is the thing. Left, they're all over. Building. Oh my god. I got one a minute ago. There you go, got 3. Got 4. Oh, they hate us.
Now I want to get into a couple of topics that aren't just focused on multiplayer or campaign, but just the game as a whole, and that is the performance and visuals in Battlefield 6. This game is, in my experience, super well optimized. I have had a great experience with performance throughout my playtime in Battlefield 6. The game runs great at pretty solid settings. I never usually run my games on high, but I have been playing on PC. I did have that issue in the beta, at least on my side of things on PC, where I was having super bad connection issues. That probably was a me thing, but going into the launch, I have had 0 issues with the stuttering and the connection issues that I had in the beta. I've not once been kicked out of a match. Performance has always been top notch, usually hitting somewhere between 100 to 120 frames a second. and that does dip down depending on the map. Some maps are not as well optimized as others. I think Iberian Offensive is one map where I usually end up getting like 70 to 80 frames, but it's still playable. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but if you're someone who might see that frame drop, that might kind of deter your experience. But for me, it was always playable. It always ran great. And also visually, this game is just stunning. I mean, oh my gosh. When explosions are happening all over the place, you're seeing fire and smoke, helicopters being hit on their tail and spinning and crashing into the ground. You'll see on Merak Valley, the crane in the middle of the map at the construction site falling down as sort of a levolution that sadly really aren't in this game, but that is one of the levolutions that you can see, is that crane fall down through the building. It all looks great. This game visually is stunning, performance wise, had a great experience, smooth, always felt great to play, had some performance drops, but nothing that made the game unplayable at all. I had a great experience in this game. Surprisingly, I was not expecting this game to be as well optimized as it is from the get-go, from day one, but that is the experience that I've had with Battlefield 6. I've had great performance, I've had great visuals, it's clicked and hit every single box in that department. Sound design as well, I want to touch on very quickly. As I mentioned very quickly, briefly earlier, all the weapons in this game sound great. From the snipers, LMGs, shotguns, everything sounds like it has a punch, everything sounds like it has a weight to it. The footsteps, the battle chatter still is great. I mean, sound design from explosions, tanks exploding, helicopters crashing into buildings, all of the sound design in this game goes along with the performance and visuals. They knocked it out of the park. DICE usually does a pretty good job with sound design. I say DICE, it's now Battlefield Studios, but the studios behind Battlefield usually do a good job with sound design, and they have, again, done a really good job in Battlefield 6 as well with that. I've had no issues at all with anything sounding bad, anything sounding, not great. All of the weapons, battle chatter, all the things that you expect in a Battlefield game to sound great do sound great in Battlefield 6. So I want to touch on that very quickly as well. Now let's talk about the campaign. Battlefield 2042 did not have a campaign. It was the first Battlefield game to not have a campaign. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 went with the war stories route, which was a cool and different take on the campaign in a way to break up the experience that you usually get, give you a short, maybe 2-3 hour experience contained and hit different parts of the war that it was going for. Battlefield 1 did a really good job with the war stories. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Bad Company 2 having traditional campaigns, following a singular story, mission to mission. Battlefield 6 returns to that after 2042 did not have a campaign. And first I want to talk about the Battlefield 6 campaign's gameplay before we dive into story. And if I'm being honest, there's not much to say about the gameplay in Battlefield 6's campaign. It's pretty much just your standard first-person shooter campaign. Nothing crazy going on. Gameplay is, it has a great base like it has in the multiplayer, so it does feel good, but there's nothing that really happens in the Battlefield 6 campaign gameplay-wise that really spices anything up. You'll get your occasional on-rails turret sections. It's a linear follow objectives. There is a mission that does kind of let you take on objectives in any order you want, but it doesn't really feel all that rewarding or just great to attack these objectives any way you want. And it only happens one time off of my memory, maybe twice, but really only one time. Gameplay is just super basic. It's just your standard, go here, shoot enemies. The AI is not great. They're actually not that smart. They'll kind of run up to you just out of cover, give themselves away, make them very easy to kill. You have your standard enemies, and then you have your slightly tankier armored enemies that have shotguns that can do some damage to you, but nothing crazy. I mean, you have normal enemies, armored enemies. That's pretty much it. You'll have snipers that kind of sit in the back and they can kind of pick you off, but they don't really serve any kind of threat. They try to spice things up with enemy variety, but they don't really do a great job. They give the AI enemies the classes that you see in the multiplayer, so you'll spot someone and, you know, they'll be an engineer. They might have some explosives on them, but that doesn't really do anything to spice up the gameplay at all. You playing as sometimes a squad leader, but sometimes, you know, you're a part of a squad, have abilities that you can use, and it's kind of cool to mess with these abilities. You have the ability to ask your squad mate to throw a grenade. These squad mates are split into different classes, so if you're playing as the character who's the engineer, you'll have the assault, support, and recon squad abilities at your disposal. So you'll have that grenade, or for support you'll be able to throw down smoke. For recon, you'll be able to ask that person to spot all the enemies in the area, and that does help clear out some things. So that part of it's pretty cool to kind of mess with. It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice little bonus to be able to feel like you're a part of a squad and use your squad to your advantage. Gameplay wise, one cool thing I will say, they do bring over the ability to be revived from multiplayer, which I thought was kind of cool. And if you go down, you'll have 2 lives to mess with, and if you die twice, that 3rd life is your last one. And if you die, you're dead. You can find different charges to build those back up, but when you do die, you will see the ability to ask one of your squad mates to come revive you, and then they'll run over there, come revive you. I think that was pretty cool. Nothing crazy again, but a nice little kind of added feature to have this down but not out system, and also again feel like you're a part of a squad. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. And overall, nothing crazy really going on with the gameplay. There's a few small cool details, but overall it's your standard basic Battlefield campaign, first person shooter campaign. It doesn't do anything crazy, but it does, I guess, get the job done. But I don't know, with the Battlefield campaign, I feel like they could have done a lot more here. It is just super basic. It's about what you should expect from Battlefield campaign in terms of the gameplay. Nothing crazy really going on in this department.
Contact! Engaging! One hit! Need a medic! Heavy fire! Stay with me. You're a lifesaver!
Last but not least, let's talk about the story in Battlefield 6. And if you've seen a lot of people talk about the Battlefield 6 campaign, you'll probably know that the Battlefield 6 story is not great. I do think it had a good bit of potential with where it was going, but it just doesn't hit really any marks at all throughout the campaign. So a quick plot premise without getting into spoilers. It's set slightly in the future in September 2027 when the game starts, and basically it's a war between NATO and PAX, and you play with NATO. You're part of NATO trying to take down PAX, and PAX is just your standard enemy force, enemy force. They're your standard enemy force. They don't really do anything crazy. They're not a crazy villain, crazy faction to go against. They're just your basic standard enemy force. I mean, there's nothing really to say about PAX. They're just kind of nameless. They just have that name, and that's your enemy throughout the entire game. You do take control of multiple different members of Dagger Squad, and Dagger 1-3. You'll play as a few different characters. You'll play as Dylan Murphy. You'll play as Carter. You'll play as Gecko, and there is also the medic of the squad, Lopez. So that's kind of your squad that you'll play with throughout the campaign, bouncing between different characters depending on what's happening in the story. And it kind of takes the Battlefield 3 approach, even though Battlefield 3 does it a lot better in its campaign, where for the most part you'll see this present day conflict, but most of the story and most of the missions are flashbacks and kind of showing you what happened leading up to the point of the present. Battlefield 3 did that. I think it did it in a lot better way. This game just doesn't really do it in an interesting way at all, having these flashbacks. It's just Battlefield 3's campaign done a whole lot worse. And replaying Battlefield 3 and 4's campaign last year, I wasn't a huge fan of those campaigns, but if I'm being honest, Battlefield 6's campaign is probably the worst Battlefield campaign of them all. I don't think the bar is very high for Battlefield campaigns. Never really has been. Battlefield Bad Company 2, probably my favorite campaign out of the bunch, but Battlefield 3 and 4's campaign, not really that great, but Battlefield 6 is even lower than those in terms of the story. Not a lot of interesting things happen in the story. The villain is very, very basic, not memorable at all. The characters do have some decent moments, but they just don't really have enough screen time. This is a campaign that you can complete in 4 to 5 hours. I think there's 9 to 10 missions. Some of the missions are pretty cool. Like there's a nighttime mission where you're raiding this base in Egypt to extract data from a asset. That was a cool mission. There's cool ideas here as well, but overall, story-wise, this game, not great. And it doesn't have a great ending. I mean, if I were being honest with you guys about the Battlefield 6 campaign, I really don't think it's worth playing. I think you could totally skip it and be just fine. But I think when it comes to the Battlefield 6 campaign, you're not coming to Battlefield to play the campaign. You're coming to the Battlefield to play multiplayer. Campaign is just usually that tacked on piece of the game that is there if you want to break from the multiplayer. It's there to give you a pretty solid basic story, give you a couple hours of fun, solid gameplay, but I don't even think Battlefield 6 really does that. Like I said, there's a couple of character moments and some decent writing moments throughout the game. I do think that the cinematics look really, really good. Voice acting is pretty solid from the characters, but although there are some great, some solid character moments, some decent writing moments, this is a campaign that I think you can skip out on. But there are some solid writing moments that I will show off right here.
Join the Marines, they said. You'll see the world, they said.
Overall, to sum it up, the Battlefield 6 campaign, gameplay super basic, nothing crazy or interesting going on there at all, and the story is not great, not memorable at all. Just the plot itself, I think, had a decent amount of potential, but they didn't do anything with it. The villain is not great. The enemy that you're fighting is not great. AI is not that great. Overall, I think this is an experience that if you're playing Battlefield 6 and you're thinking about playing the campaign, I think maybe you can get some enjoyment out of it, but I think that you don't have to play this campaign. This is definitely something you can absolutely skip and not miss out on really anything at all. But if you're wanting something to break up that multiplayer, it is there for you, 4 to 5 hours, but I think it's definitely skippable. You're not missing a whole lot with this campaign. Some quick thoughts on other parts of the game before we get into my final verdict. You'll notice that I did not talk about Portal in this video because Portal is something that I wanted to wait on and talk about in a future video when it kind of gets the ball rolling. It gets a lot of experiences under its belt. People are creating, and just at launch I wanted to wait, check out Portal. So I have not even touched Portal at this point in time. I'm waiting for experiences to come out, people to really get creative with it, and then dive in to see the full potential of Portal. So Portal is not part of this review. Sorry if you were looking for some Portal stuff to talk about, because it is part of the game. It is a pretty solid, big part of the game, but I just decided I wanted to wait, let people get some experience with creating things, and see really where this can go, because they were showing it off a lot pre-launch, and showing off what this can really do and the experiences that the community can create. So Portal is one thing that I did not check out, and also, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is being uploaded on the same day that Season 1 is dropping. The Battle Royale is dropping, we have new maps, I'm sure a Battle Pass is coming out, a store is coming out. So this review is pre-Season 1, pre all of that being added, and just talking about the few weeks between the game launching on October 10th and Season 1 dropping on the 28th. So it's about 2.5 weeks. This is talking about my experience in those weeks, not talking about Season 1. I do want to make a video talking about Season 1, seeing what they've added. That might also be where I throw in Portal and talk about that as well. So I do have some plans to keep making a couple of Battlefield 6 videos down the line, because if you couldn't tell, I have had a really fun time with this game and have really enjoyed it. So what is my verdict on Battlefield 6? This is the brand new Battlefield game coming from Battlefield Studios. They've taken a bunch of different studios from all over the place, all over EA's kind of portfolio of studios, coming from DICE, the old Battlefield devs, even taking Criterion, the Need for Speed devs, putting all 4, I think, studios on different parts of the game to create the ultimate Battlefield experience. And this game is going for $70. It's full price. It's pretty much everywhere: Steam, PlayStation, Xbox. And for me, I think if you're looking for one of the best multiplayer experiences of the year, you will get that with Battlefield 6. I think that there's enough content here to justify the $70 price tag. The progression feels great, the gameplay feels great, and everything in this game I have had so much fun with. I've been so impressed by. Performance and visuals have been fantastic, and they're only going to update this game more and more. With all the past Battlefield games, we have not seen them knock it out of the park at launch. They've had to build upon these games that were broken messes that need to be fixed like crazy, and they've gotten these games to a point where they're pretty solid, but they've lost the player base of these games like Battlefield 5 and 2042 from day one, and have spent all the time in post-launch content bringing these players back, or at least attempting to, and it not really working. But this game knocks it out of the park from day one. There's still a lot of people playing this game. It's still popping off all over the place, and that is for good reason, because this game is great. I have loved pretty much all of my time playing Battlefield 6, and I would recommend it for the $70 price tag. It's one of the best multiplayer experiences of the year. Get a couple buddies together, play through this game, unlock sandbox items, all these weapons, use all the different vehicles, level up, do everything that you would want to do in a Battlefield game. If this is your first Battlefield game, you're going to have a great time with it. If this is not your first Battlefield game, you're coming back to the franchise, I think it hits on what Battlefield used to be. Battlefield is back, Battlefield is great again, and it is so glad, it's so great to finally be able to say that after many bad launches, many bad experiences. It's great to finally say that Battlefield 6 is a great game, and I would recommend it for the $70 price tag, even though the campaign is not great. But if you're coming to Battlefield for the campaign, then you're really missing out on the multiplayer. A lot of people, I feel like, are coming to Battlefield for the multiplayer, and I don't even really consider campaign as a part of the product. It's there, but it's not going to weigh down my overall opinion of the game. It kind of just gets thrown to the wayside. It's not that great. It's there if you want to play it, but the multiplayer is really where this game shines, and where a lot of the game's content is, and they're only going to add on to it. They have a great base, and hopefully they don't screw it up somehow with post-launch support and content, and they only keep adding and making the game better and better. So I do recommend this game. If you're looking for one of the best multiplayer experiences of the year, that's got great gameplay, progression, lots of weapons, maps, modes, and great performance and visuals, you'll get that with Battlefield 6 for the $70 price tag. So that is going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, hanging out, talking about Battlefield 6. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Are you still playing it? Are you still having fun with it? What do you think about Battlefield 6? Let me know down in the comments. I've had a lot of fun with this game. Plan to keep on playing it for the rest of the year and hopefully into next year as well. Hopefully it's not one of these games that I play for a long time and then just die off of. I hope that I keep coming back to this game and still enjoying it. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming in the future, and I'll talk to you later.